was a friend of your father's.
Tony Soprano didn't get manipulated by a rival, a boss, or even his shrink. He got played by a woman in orthopedic shoes. Hey, welcome to Sopranos Breakdown. I'm Matthew. We're going to dive into the world of Tony, Carmela, and the whole crew, finding those little details you might have missed and digging into what everything really means. If you love The Sopranos as much as I do, go ahead and hit that like button so more fans can find this. All right, let's get into it. On first viewing, Fran Feldstein may come across as a nostalgic figure from the past, someone Tony tries to help out of respect for his late father. But upon closer inspection, her actions reveal a more calculated and opportunistic nature.
Do we know each other?
We met once. I was a friend of your father's.
The first red flag is her appearance at Johnny Boy Soprano's grave. The odds that she just happens to be there at the same time as Tony and Junior are extraordinarily low. It's more plausible that she saw a funeral notice, Aunt Conchetta's, and anticipated that Tony or Junior might visit Johnny Boy's grave during or after the service. Her timing was too precise to be coincidence.
You know, Johnny told me if I ever needed anything, I should always call his son.
Then there's her claim that Johnny told her, "If you ever need anything, talk to Tony." It's a touching sentiment on the surface, until one considers the likelihood of a married mobster telling his mistress to seek out his son for support. It strains credibility. More likely, it was a manipulative line designed to tug at Tony's lingering idealization of his father and trigger a sense of inherited obligation. Throughout the episode, Fran demonstrates how adept she is at using sentimentality and performance to achieve her goals.
And then one night, we're all at the 500 Club to see Enzo Stuardi. Your father shows up. Side divorce suit, 2-inch lapel. What was that?
She evokes the glamour of her past, drops names, including JFK, and even tries to charm Tony with a grotesque rendition of Happy Birthday, Mr. President. A moment that lands with such awkwardness that it becomes clear she has crossed a line. In that moment, Tony realizes that the woman he had briefly idealized is, in fact, just as shallow, self-serving, and emotionally vampiric as his mother. By the time she casually reveals that she used the money Tony gave her for necessities on luxury shoes, the mask has fully slipped. She's not destitute or desperate. She's entitled and manipulative. The racetrack money, which she insists she was promised by Johnny Boy, is accepted by Tony only because he's clinging to a fantasy version of his father. But there's no documentation, no corroboration, just Fran's word, and a buried memory Tony seems desperate to validate. This episode is a turning point in Tony's perception of his parents. It forces him to confront the fact that his father was not a noble figure torn between duty and romance, but a man who consistently abandoned his responsibilities in favor of indulging his own whims.
That didn't take long. You must be in good with the video.
Let this be a lesson to you.
The line, "Even my mother quit smoking when he got emphysema," underscores how even Livia, with all her toxicity, showed more care than Fran. Fran's arc is not just about personal gain, it's about Tony's unraveling illusions. She represents a version of the past he wants to believe in, but ultimately can't. By the end of the episode, the nostalgia has soured. Tony realizes that he, like his father, has given too much to people who don't deserve it. Not out of compassion, but out of ego, denial, and unresolved parental dynamics. Fran may not have orchestrated a traditional scam, but she played Tony emotionally, used his unresolved feelings for his father, and walked away with a sizable reward. In a world full of manipulators and opportunists, she knew exactly which buttons to press, and pressed them perfectly. Never underestimate what happens when a fat, post-surgery mob boss throws a punch. It'll change everything you thought about strength and respect.
Also Marinaro, the Italian strongman.
Just glad you got somebody capable of protecting you, driving for you.
Isn't it kind of insane that a professional bodyguard lost a fistfight to a post-surgery, overweight mob boss twice his age? and somehow kept his job? Muscles? Marinara? Really? That should have been the end of his career right there. Let's be honest. He lost because he couldn't fight back. You don't lay hands on a made man, especially not the boss. The whole crew practically screamed at him not to throw a punch, not because they cared about him, but because they knew the rules. You touch the boss, you die. Doesn't matter who threw the first punch. And Tony knew that. That's exactly why he picked Muscles. Physically, sure, he's big, intimidating, looks like a threat. But hierarchically, he's nothing, an associate, expendable.
He knew it was wrong what he did.
He is the boss. He can do what he wants.
Boss or no, you don't raise your hands to another made guy.
Tony didn't attack Paulie or Bobby because they're made, they're loyal, and they hold weight. Muscles was just impressive enough for a show of force, and just low-ranking enough that hitting him wouldn't stir up any real consequences. It wasn't about strength. It was about optics. Tony felt weak, recovering from surgery, aging, physically slower. He looked around and saw nothing but youth and strength surrounding him. He needed to reassert dominance, and Muscles was the ideal target. Big, dumb, low on the food chain. And the moment Muscles even thought about retaliating, everyone jumped in. Don't do it. That wasn't about concern for Muscles. That was fear for what would happen to him. Because he was never going to win that fight, not just because of the rules, but because he knew the rules. He barely raised a hand. Tony had free rein to unload. It's the mafia version of feudal hierarchy. When a superior lashes out, the subordinate eats it. You don't get to defend yourself even if it's unfair, especially if it's unfair.
Depends what muscles I'm trying to hit, you know?
Yeah, I gotta get back to the gym.
Some see that scene and think Tony picked the strongest guy to prove he could still dominate. That's part of it. But more importantly, he picked the one guy who wouldn't fight back, the one who posed no real political threat. If Tony had gone after a made guy and things escalated, resentment could fester. That's dangerous. But going after Muscles? That's safe. And it worked. After that, nobody questioned Tony's authority. Even if it was a sad display, cheap, pathetic, and cruel, it reinforced the chain of command. The violence re-established control. Muscles did throw a punch. Tony blocked it, got him in an arm lock, and went to town. So the idea that he didn't fight back at all isn't accurate. He hesitated. He pulled back. Because full resistance would have meant death. He played it just enough to make it look real and still survive. From a leadership standpoint, it was brutal but effective. Tony saw the cracks forming, people seeing him as weak, as soft. So he sent a message. The optics mattered more than fairness, more than personal pride. He didn't need to beat the toughest guy. He needed to beat someone convincingly.
And you tell Jason before he sells, he better understand his obligation.
In the end, Tony vomited in the sink. His body paid for it. But his standing in the crew? Unshaken, maybe even strengthened. It was ugly. But it worked. Everyone says Tony was wrong to strike Ralphie. But what if that punch was the smartest move he made all season? Tony was justified in striking Ralphie outside the Bing in university. Sure, the mafia rules say you don't physically assault made men, but context matters. First, after Ralphie murders Tracy, everyone has been drinking heavily. When they come out to see Ralphie soaking his hand in ice water, it's clear their recollection won't be sharp because of the alcohol. Two key things happen leading up to Tony hitting Ralphie.
What happened to you?
Tracy, she slipped.
A. Ralphie disrespects the Bing by leaving a fresh dead body out in the open. Apparently, soaking his hand is more important than hiding the corpse.
She slipped.
You fell?
It's my story.
Stupid motherfucker. How fucking dare you?
Take it easy.
You don't think.
B. He lies repeatedly. And when Tony questions him about what really happened, Ralphie lies to his face. That's what finally pushes Tony over the edge. If it were only the first offense, hitting Ralphie wouldn't be justified. But combined with lying to the boss and jeopardizing everyone's safety by exposing the murder scene, Tony's reaction becomes understandable. Ralphie isn't a captain, so Tony, as the boss, holds ultimate authority. Who is Ralphie to question him? This moment delivers one of the most satisfying punishments in the series. Ralphie had been tolerated because of his earnings despite his vile behavior, but this was the breaking point.
This way she can grow up to be a cocksucking slob, just like her mother. Are you out of your fucking mind?
Tracy was considered a woo by mob standards, and she hit Ralphie first. The baby she was carrying wasn't his. Yet, murder is still murder, no exceptions. Unsanctioned killings and lying to the boss about a crime that happened on family property threatened the entire organization.
I'll see pull a Jack Ruby on you. You might have to punch this fucking asshole. She was not your command.
Tony's hitting Ralphie breaks the strict rule against striking made men. But the rule exists because serious violations are supposed to be punished by death, not by fistfights. The contradiction is that the boss can have someone killed but cannot physically assault a made guy without consequences. Real mob protocol would have seen Ralphie killed for the unsanctioned murder and lying. The show softens this, but in reality, the penalty for such offenses is final. Additionally, Ralphie's negligence by leaving the body exposed risks law enforcement attention, which could bring down the whole crew. Tony's anger is not just about the girl, but the danger Ralphie created. Interestingly, Tony's assault on Ralphie causes more immediate backlash than when Tony later roughs up Phil Leotardo, a powerful capo, which eventually sparks a war. That discrepancy stands out. Ultimately, Ralphie crossed a line. The no-hitting made guys rule is clear, but the boss has wide discretion. When lying and reckless behavior endanger the family, Tony's violent response, while against the rules, is understandable. After the incident, Ralphie accepted the punishment because, in this world, when the boss hits you, it's either submission or something much worse. Ever wonder how organized crime turns a simple construction project into a multi-million-dollar payday? If you're curious about the dirty tricks behind big city redevelopment, this one's for you. Just started Season 4, and honestly, the Esplanade is a bit confusing. What exactly is it? Some kind of boardwalk? And how does the mob make money from it? Also, someone mentioned carpenters carrying sheetrock. What's that about? Isn't sheetrock just drywall? Why does it matter who's carrying it? Is the show throwing vague hints around? Or am I missing something? Here's the deal without spoilers past Episode 3.
Good news about the Esplanade. The legislature has voted to refund the Special Newark Development District along Frelinghuysen Avenue, north from the Museum of Truth.
The Esplanade is a major waterfront redevelopment project in Newark. The mob controls the labor unions involved, which means they control the whole money game. They make subcontractors overbid jobs. For example, saying a job needs $1 million in copper when it really only needs $500,000. The mob skims the difference by stealing the materials and selling them on the black market.
Tidelands, your slice of no-shows. I spoke to the union. We can't make 5 work no more.
There are also no-show or no-work jobs, meaning they pay guys legitimate wages for work they don't actually do, so the income looks clean and taxable. Tony splits the profits with the Lupertazzi family. This scam isn't just fiction. It happens in real life, where everyone from job site managers down to laborers skim off the top.
Job site, then we got carpenters. What's the problem?
The problem is the carpenters are carrying sheetrock and materials.
About the carpenters and sheetrock. Unions have strict rules about who can do what. Carpenters aren't supposed to carry drywall. That's the drywaller's job. When carpenters do that work, it means the union isn't enforcing hiring rules, and the mob loses out on skimming from those missing drywall jobs. It's all about protecting each union's cut. When Ralphie says he brings in $3 million from construction, he means all these scams combined: overbidding, theft, fake jobs, bribery. Ralphie was untouchable because killing him would have destroyed a major income stream for the family. It's even mentioned that after his death, the family's operations declined quickly. As for selling stolen materials, forget online marketplaces. Back then, it was mostly scrapyards and under-the-table deals with other companies needing discounted supplies. You needed connections willing to buy questionable goods.
Johnny Sapp's gonna go to war, Tony. See, Carmine's got major income besides construction. Johnny don't.
This explains why construction costs are so inflated, and infrastructure in places like Newark is in bad shape. The corruption and skimming are baked in. By the way, sheetrock is just a brand name for drywall, but everyone uses it like it's the generic term. So, the Esplanade isn't just a boardwalk. It's a huge money-making machine fueled by corrupt unions, inflated contracts, stolen materials, and fake jobs. It's all about the hustle and the cash. Never mistake Jon Favreau's D-girl for just another annoying Hollywood cliché. What you didn't realize is that this asshole role was a mirror reflecting the ugly truth about mobsters, Hollywood, and Chris's doomed dreams.
Incredibly funny, smart. John's totally accessible. You guys should come visit the set.
Why was Jon Favreau such a colossal ass in D-Girl? Chris may have been a bit of a bore, okay, maybe a lot. But seriously, what did Favreau expect? Yet, Favreau had to be pretentious the entire time. The meta-twist here is that Jon's playing himself. So, was this meant as a parody of Hollywood douchebaggery, or was he genuinely an asshole back then? It's probably satire, but watching him embody the classic Hollywood jackass was still peculiar. Christopher's arc screams that the grass isn't always greener. He's sick of the gang life, but jumps headfirst into Hollywood's cesspool of backstabbing, fake smiles, and petty politics. Spoiler: assholes exist everywhere, whether you're slugging it out with mobsters face-to-face or backstabbed by slick executives behind the scenes.
What, just because he gave me that tar smell idea? I could have come up with that. What? Friend of mine, stone wise guy. John used his whole fucking story.
At some point, Chris realizes this isn't just a game. Remember the acid story he tells like it's a joke about picking up the mail while cracking up? Favreau's expression basically screams, "I want to be anywhere but here." That story wasn't just for laughs. It's a brutal reminder that gangsters aren't just metaphorical assholes. They're violent monsters. The choice? Hollywood rats who stab you in the back versus gangsters who do it with a gun in your face. Chris sticks with the gangsters, partly because Hollywood shut its door on him, partly because he just isn't cut out for that world. His temper and immaturity tanked any real shot, and his value was basically just his stories. He showed some promise in acting class, before his temper blew up and he beat someone senseless. That was his one glimmer. But Chris was functionally illiterate and a terrible person to boot. Yet somehow, Tony would have your back, loyal to his capo, no question. Chris's Hollywood career was doomed from the start. He had mob connections, but no clue about the film business. He could have stayed in Hollywood, kissing ass and playing the dirty game, maybe even taking a detour through Harvey Weinstein-style horrors. But what's the point? It's just another ruthless racket. At least with the mob, you know the bullets come face to face. It's funny how quickly whacked becomes part of your vocabulary around Tony Soprano. 15 minutes, and suddenly you're throwing around mafia slang like a pro. The episode nails Tony's insecurity. The tough mob boss who craves WASP approval and normalcy, but is stuck in a world of violence and betrayal. Like office drones questioning their miserable lives, gangsters wrestle with the futility of their violent, isolating existence.
How's it going? It's a real treat to meet you. Swingers kicked ass. Thanks. Thank you.
Chris, meanwhile, is desperate and sycophantic with Favreau, only to become more measured later. Season 6's Luxury Lounge with Ben Kingsley and Lauren Bacall is a gem. Speaking of Bacall, that scene where Chris and Murmur rob and bitch slap her? Underrated. David Chase is clearly fascinated by hypocrisy and human frailty. Jon Favreau's self-portrayal as a smarmy Hollywood douche serves to show us, and Chris, that the mob's political backstabbing and the entertainment industry's fake smiles are two sides of the same coin.
Jerry from Newark. He's expected.
I'm sorry, sir. Mr. Favreau has requested not to be disturbed.
Favreau's eventual cold shoulder? Classic. Chris got too comfortable, too wild, waving guns, giggling about maiming people like it's a prank. No professional boundaries. No thanks. This wasn't just eating sandwiches and talking shop. It was a harsh wake-up call. Hollywood ghosting? Totally California style. The Irish goodbye on steroids. Of course, the big Hollywood guy acting like an arrogant jerk? Stop the presses. Favreau was playing the part written for him, a self-aware, self-deprecating douchebag who might even be poking fun at himself. Chris's biggest failure? Not understanding the rules of this new world, getting way too friendly too fast, then getting bent out of shape when Favreau used the mafia stories without asking. Blame Chris's social cluelessness more than Favreau's attitude.
This is Yael from Costabella Lingerie, Sir Ben Kings.
I take an extra large.
All the celebrities on the show play up their Hollywood jerk stereotypes, from Favreau to Sir Ben Kingsley, who hilariously rejects Chris's terrible script as if it's beneath him. It's a subtle jab at Chris's ineptitude and the brutal gatekeeping of showbiz. Bottom line, Chris was never a varsity filmmaker. The mob was his turf, his world, and Hollywood was just a brutal, pretentious playground he didn't belong in. Favreau's dickishness? Just part of the satire. Chris's behavior? Classic Chris. And the acid on the roof? Pure genius metaphor for the mess he got himself into. Oh my God, babe. If you don't like and subscribe, I swear I'm gonna cry. Like actual tears. Support Matthew, or you're dead to me.